Hi, my name is Simon Bale. I'm the Voscur representative to the Thriving Neighbourhood Partnership Board. We met last on the 19th of May at the Southville Centre, where Ben Barker, who's the chair of the Thriving Neighbourhoods Board, gave us a good description of the activities of the Greater Bedminster Community Partnership and how that fits in with the Neighbourhood Partnership programme in Bristol. Also, as it was the first meeting of the new year of the board, we elected our chair and vice chair, and actually re-elected Ben Barker as our chair, who's been the chair for the past year, and also Tony Locke was elected as vice chair. Tony is from Greater Fishponds. There will be eventually 14 representatives, one from each of the neighbourhood partnerships, and 7 of those have already been identified, and the other 7 are obviously in the pipeline. That's good. We're moving forward on that, and we also explored the way that the equality representation will happen on the board. The way that is being decided upon and developed is still in the pipeline, and we'll be able to report more on that next time. I'm going to be Voscur rep for next year as well, and all the statutory bodies who are currently represented are going to be pretty much the same people. The first substantive item on the agenda was the presentation of the work plan for the coming year, made by Di Robinson, who's the newly appointed Service Director for the Neighbourhood Partnerships in Bristol. And she took us through the work plan, which is a really good piece of work, which is only on 2 sides of a single sheet of A4, which is very helpful and describes a lot of the tasks and the projects that we're going to be involved in over the coming year, and highlights the various indicators which we hope to be addressing. Currently, it doesn't actually give any description of the timescales involved or the people who are going to be taking these pieces of work on, but it's a good starting point, and it is only a draft at the moment. A few people pointed out, of course, that the way this work gets done is actually at the grassroots, in the neighbourhood partnerships themselves, and the milestones we're going to be passing, the achievements we're going to make, are going to be in the partnerships in the local areas, and it's important that we maintain a link between the grassroots and the strategic vision that the overall Thriving Neighbourhoods Board has, in order that we can show the value of neighbourhood partnerships and also develop some really good ways of working across the city. So it's a work in progress, but we will keep revisiting that as the year goes on. We then looked at the roles and responsibilities of the people who attend the Thriving Neighbourhoods Board. Many of us have been going for a year, and we've developed our roles and responsibilities, but we needed to put them down in some paper form so we can look at them and reflect upon them. One of the key things that we recognise is that there's a very important need for good communication from the board itself back to the neighbourhoods, and from the neighbourhoods to the board and all the other partners involved, and that we as the representatives on the board are responsible for that communication. There was some discussion around the need for a job description for representation from the neighbourhood partnerships, because that is something, if we're going to ask people to come along to a meeting, people need to know what they're coming along to, what's expected of them. Otherwise, it's unlikely we're going to get people coming back for more than 2 meetings if they don't know what to expect and are surprised by what happens. So some clarity on that is needed, and that is going to be prepared in time for the next meeting. Some people raised the issue of whether the new area coordinators are going to be part of the Thriving Neighbourhoods Board, and Di Robinson was saying, well, no, they're not actually. That again, it's our role as representation on the board to do the communication, to be the link between the board and the partnerships. But it was felt that as a consequence of that discussion, that more clarity was needed on the roles and responsibilities of the area coordinators. So Di was going to go away and distribute a job description for those people to the board members, so that we know really where we stand, where other people stand, and how everything sort of hangs together, and that way we're going to be much more effective. The final item on the agenda was a discussion of the democratic agenda, how we engage people, how we actually make neighbourhood partnerships work at the grassroots, and how that feeds through into the strategic vision for the city. Last year, as we started out with the Thriving Neighbourhoods Board, we were all involved in an exercise of writing down what we thought were good ways of working, good ideas of engaging people, and how we would lead somewhere. And we looked again at those things that we'd written down last year and what some of the comments had been on them. And it was interesting because some of the things that had been happening, some of the things had just not got off the ground. But the point was, it was a lot about action, a lot about engaging people through action. And of course, since we wrote those things down, there's been quite a change in the landscape of neighbourhood partnerships, how they operate, how they work together. For example, the neighbourhood forums and neighbourhood partnership meetings that are now happening every few months are a new thing. So that wasn't reflected in the list of things we were talking about last year. Now, there's no perfect way of doing this. It was pointed out last night that we're never going to get everything to work perfectly. However, we do need to keep looking at how we're engaging people, how people feel about local neighbourhood partnerships, how they engage, and what it means to them. Because in the long term, that's what it's all about. If we're talking about a more democratic agenda, that really is about how people influence decisions. And some of the indicators we're hoping to achieve are about how people feel they are part of decision making. So what we need is evidence for how people have engaged and how that engagement has led to them being part of the decision making and how they feel about that. The changes we are hoping to bring about through the Thriving Neighbourhoods approach is for people to feel part of the decision making process. Unless we can demonstrate how that happens, people aren't going to get on board. So there's got to be some thinking around how we do that. There had been some confusion as to how people get a hold of information about meetings and when the forums meet, when the partnerships meet. And of course, that doesn't help. We need to clarify this. We need to make this very easy for people to find out locally when their meetings are going to be. And we need to use all means of communication possible for that. So Di Robinson was tasked with going away and coming up with some useful ways of ensuring that happens across the city, so that people know where they live when the next partnership meeting is going to be and how they can be part of it. Part of this communication is obviously internet-based, and Voscur is leading the way on using all the technology available to keep people informed. We're using Twitter, we're using Facebook, and of course we're using a good old-fashioned web page. There's a Twitter hashtag set up to help you follow these meetings live as they're happening, which is BristolTNB. There's also the Facebook page, and both those are linked to from the main Voscur website. So if you want to keep informed, keep up to date, literally as the meetings happen, then look to the Twitter page and follow the hashtag. And of course the hashtag is there for you to contribute to the tweets as well. So you can, although you're not actually at the meeting, you can contribute and be involved in the way Bristol is run. So the next meeting of the Thriving Neighbourhoods Board is on 15th of June, somewhere in Bristol. We don't know yet. Thank you.